The Girls Club, 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 The Girls Club. It's my club and I'm a girl, yeah.
Guys, it's another week of some fucking technical issue going wrong. This whole video seems to be in the camera switching between warm and cool tones. I don't know what the fuck is going on, so yeah, you'll see that happen, and I'm sorry, I truly don't know what the fuck is going on, so hope that's not too annoying, and I hope if you didn't notice that before, you don't notice it now that I brought it up, but it's driving me crazy in the edit, so sorry. I'm telling you, at some point we'll get this figured out, but I don't know what's going on.
Hello and welcome back to the Girls Club. I'm your president, Emily, and today I am going to see the Michael Jackson movie. Literally later tonight, 5 p.m., I will be going to see the MJ movie, and I'm so excited. I know there's a lot of discourse about Michael Jackson and what have you, and I'm not a Michael Jackson defender. However, I mean, we talk about this every single week. Remove the art from the artist, right? And so this biopic I'm really excited for because it is the beginnings of his life up until I think his Bad album. And yeah, I don't know. I think as somebody who has been a dancer throughout childhood, and somebody who's obsessed with music, specifically pop music, I love Michael Jackson, and he influenced so many of my favorite artists. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I am very pumped. It's getting a lot of criticism because people are like, how can you make this movie and then not talk about any of the controversies and, everything with his name, which totally valid. However, number one, I'm pretty sure that they can't, they legally couldn't talk about it because originally they did want to include some of the controversies and stuff and then continue the story up through the 90s. But none of this came out until the 90s, and the movie as it has been cut and released ends in the late 80s. So number one, it hadn't even really happened yet. I mean, at least the public didn't know anything about it if it did happen. And then number two, I'm pretty sure there was a settlement that happened. And so legally they can't talk about it because part of the settlement agreement was the victim, I believe, cannot be likeness or otherwise cannot be depicted in any sort of film or retelling of the story. I think. Don't quote me on it. I'll fact check it, of course, like I always do. But yeah, so that was a lot of the criticism of the movie so far. So while I understand that, that's not what this is. This is kind of the first portion of his life is more of the telling of this story. So I don't know. I'm really excited because it's one of those albums one of those artists that so heavily influenced all of music, and I don't know, I think people were criticizing that, but then nobody criticized the Elvis movie for not including the fact that his wife was a child, and they kind of romanticized that instead of it being a valid critique of the fact that he married a minor. So I don't know, biopics are interesting because it's always going to be a bit more glamorized and fairy tale version of the telling, which I think is okay because it's not a documentary. But I think that does require a bit of media literacy to discern the difference between a biopic and a factual documentary. One is going to be a bit more of a storytelling device than the other. So anyways, I'm really excited for that. I'm seeing that this afternoon, and I will report back my findings in next week's club meeting. But this is kind of the beginning of the end of an era for me right now. I am moving next weekend out of my Nashville place into my parents' house. This will be the second to last club meeting here. So, it's the beginning of the end, and that's okay. I'm excited for new opportunities. Just gotta look at shit on the bright side, honestly, because if I don't, I'll go crazy. But, it's been real and it's been fun here. Also, this is the 100th club meeting. 100. Very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff. The girls club was started because I wanted to continue to do what I had been doing on the internet for the past, 2 or 3 years before this, which was I had a podcast with a friend. We created a podcast because we were two no-name people on the internet who knew, we didn't have a bunch of money to do cool, I don't know, stuff with. So we were like, how can we create an audience to get to care about us? Well, let's just be honest and authentic in a podcast format, because that's what was, the thing. And so I found this love for just sitting and yapping to my phone, which I don't know, I think speaks a bit towards my mental health, which I think a lot of YouTubers or any sort of content creator has something a little bit wrong with them that makes them really like doing this. But genuinely, it is. So that's where this started, because I wanted to continue to do that. But I was like, well, how can I do this on my own? Well, let's create this like club-like format, create community, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, it's been a lot of fun. One of the big goals of this has been to grow the channel to at least 1,000 subscribers before starting any sort of real community building aspect, because I didn't want to create something that like became like a group chat of like 11 people or whatever, and then that's just kind of awkward for everybody involved. So a goal that I had set was hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll create a Discord, because I really want to start building community. And one of the things I have fallen in love with the last year or so has been board games, and specifically social deduction games. And I have loved the community aspects that those bring. And I figured, we could do that kind of thing here, among other things, have people introduced to one another. So if you're traveling to a new city, people can leave recommendations of like places to eat or things to do or whatever. Or maybe we start some sort of book club, or maybe we start some sort of movie club where every week we watch a movie and then we chit chat about it, or we do like talent shows, whatever. I thought the best place to host that would be Discord, because I had a listener in the past approached me about starting Discord, which I thought was an awesome idea, but I needed it to get to a certain place to feel comfortable with doing it, because I didn't want it to feel like I love y'all, but I didn't want it to be too intimate to where it's like, this is kind of weirdly parasocial in a negative way. And so my goal has been hit 1,000 subs, I'll open that Discord, and we're so close. All that to say, we're so close. We're at like 980 something subs right now, which is huge. Thank you so much for subscribing. But if you don't subscribe and you want to be a part of this community, I'm starting a girls club Discord where all of that stuff is going to be in there. I'm really excited for it. If you're interested in being like a moderator for that, also DM me, let me know. Because I will definitely be wanting a couple of mods on there, just in case something crazy happens. I don't want anybody to feel unsafe or whatever. I don't think that that's the community that this is, which is awesome, because I have really made it very clear of, the shit I put up with and the level of, inclusivity and wokeness I kind of need you to be to want to engage with this content. I think that we've kind of weeded out a lot of the people who otherwise, might have been misaligned with the mission statement of this. Look, I'm throwing out corporate words in there. So I don't foresee it being any sort of negative space, but sometimes people wander in without all of the context of everything else, and maybe they're not a great fit. So just in case that does happen, I do want some sort of moderation going on just to be extra safe, because I want everybody to feel safe and have it be a very positive experience for everyone, myself included. So yeah, we're very close to 1,000 subs. When that happens, I'll open that up, I'll post a link, and I'll from there continue to link it in the description of the club meetings. So yeah, very excited. If you're new here, thanks so much for subscribing. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. It helps get the algorithm on my side and pushing this shit forward. So yeah, that's the housekeeping stuff at the beginning. Also, one final housekeeping note. I think I'm going to take a 1 week break in between moving because I just don't want to be stressed out, overwhelmed, whatever, and then have a shit club meeting because of it. So we'll have this week's club meeting today. We'll have next week's club meeting, and then we're going to take a break for a week as I unpack. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to be making a redecorating my childhood bedroom video. So there will be additional content being made because of that. Because I love more than anything, especially on TikTok. I think it works so well in short form because I'm going to be honest, I never watch YouTube videos like this. So that's a me problem and whatever. But I just don't seek that out on YouTube. But on TikTok, I love watching essentially full YouTube videos at 2 times speed of people redecorating something. So that's what I'm going to be creating. I want it to feel like kind of old YouTube vibe. So I'm going to try to shoot it on my little shitty like vlog camera that I got 10 years ago. And we'll just see what happens. I'm really excited for that. But I'm going to be filming that on the week off. So hopefully then I can start working on that and post it in between whatever. But yeah, I'm excited to be home because I think it's going to give me a lot more opportunity to really lock in and work on a bunch of these creative projects that I've like half started. That's the issue. It's like I've just been so busy dealing with kind of bullshit of life recently that I just have kind of gotten lost in the sauce. So I think once I'm home and have quite literally no distractions because I don't have any friends and or job there, I'll be putting out some shit. So be ready for that. But how's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing well. It's a lovely Thursday. Thursdays are one of those are the day of the week that I would rate like a 7 out of 10. It's so close to being an 8, not quite, but Friday might be one of my favorite days of the week. But when you're unemployed, every day kind of feels like a fucking Saturday. So real talk. Oh my gosh, you guys want to know something so crazy? So my last thing that I did, my last podcast or YouTube channel that I did with my friend, the original concept of the show was, or of the channel and like the entity itself is we wanted to play on this like era of nostalgia. We wanted to play on this, you know, feeling of wanting to have, you know, community in a world that is like so divisive and is very much like segmented all of us by our generations. Like that was a big piece of the inspiration for it. And we were both zillennials, so born in 97, like literally the first year of Gen Z. So we related a lot with Gen Z, but then we also had so much of the same like nostalgic memories that millennials had. We were just like really little when we were experiencing it. And one of the big like intersections of those two generations was like girly tabloidy style magazines like Tiger Beat and Teen Vogue and oh my gosh, there's so many. I can't even think of them right now. Like my brain is like literal mush right now. But that was the inspo. So we named it like the name of a magazine company, and for us it was like Society 97. We thought that was like so like magazine, and then to like shorten it, we were like S97. Like, I don't know, that just felt very 2000s magazine vibes. Crazy full circle moment. I am subscribed to the Slushy Noobz like Patreon. Slushy Noobz, if you don't know, are like Martin and Hamza. They are YouTubers and they have a channel together called Slushy Noobz, and they have a like $5 Patreon. It's a very good deal for a Patreon. I'll say that. It's like the best bang for your buck Patreon that exists in terms of the content that you get, the amount of it. And then they also do like every 3 months, I think they send out a free, I mean, you're paying for it, but they're definitely not making money off of this. Like they're definitely spending more than they make. Like merch, exclusive merch item. And this month they did that. You guys, this is my original concept for the last thing that I did. It is a 2000s tabloid inspired Tiger Beat-esque magazine. And look at the freaking name. SN12. Slushy Noobz 12. Society 97. Like, isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? I was like, oh my God, that's insane. Like, I texted my like previous partner from my YouTube channel and was like, dude, holy shit, they actually made our original show concept. Because one of the big things about it, like our first photo shoot that we ever did, we created this fake magazine facade and we like taped it over. Oh my God, it's so crazy to like think back. It's like whenever you are in a creative space and you have no budget, you have no audience, you have no nothing, you just literally just fake it till you make it. I knew nothing about editing software. I knew nothing about graphic design back then. It's like I was so fresh to all of it, but I had this like huge ambition and this like giant dream. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like right place, wrong time kind of thing, which is unfortunate, but it taught me everything that I know up until now, which was huge. But we created this fake magazine. We taped it over a real magazine so we could take pictures of us like looking at it and whatever. And we did a whole photo shoot for it. We created a trailer video where we shot it around the city in Nashville. And it's just so funny because I'm just like, this magazine is like proof that concept had legs, especially in the YouTube space. So I don't know. I just felt really validated, even though this has nothing to do with me and I literally paid for this. I felt so validated because I look up to Martin and Hamza so much as like content creators. So to think that they, you know, they have this whole team of people and they have this whole, you know, like honestly media little mini empire that they've created that started off of just their videos. So I don't know, that was such a validating thing for me to see. I just felt like it was kind of like okay, you do have good ideas, you do have this, you just didn't have the resources and you didn't have the motion to make that happen. Totally fine. But it's cool to think like, I mean, I came up with that idea like nearly 5 years ago. So to see it being executed today is just crazy because it was like, I don't know, super validating. And I know it's not like just it's not an original idea by any means, but just it was like the parallels to the fact it was like a duo YouTube channel, and the fact that they took, you know, this video medium and they created a like tangible piece of like traditional media out of it was like, that was a huge concept with our show. It was like, you know, we crave this nostalgia because we've kind of grown up in this weird time of, we've always existed with the internet, but we also remember physical media and that time in our lives, and getting that feels so good because you're kind of instantly transported back to when you were little and you would get those magazines and you'd be like, oh, holy shit, this is awesome. Cosmopolitan magazine was a big one for me growing up. And I don't know. So seeing that was really cool. I just had to talk about that. I know we haven't gotten into anything important yet in this week's club meeting, but like that to me was so validating. I think the reason I wanted to talk so long about kind of nothing at the beginning is because the topics I have for this week's movie, what the fuck? Derp. I'm so derpy. The concepts that Jesus fucking Christ. the conversation topics I have are a bit not fun and a bit heavy. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way at the beginning. And now we can get into the not fun stuff. Also, the traffic is so loud right now, so I'm so sorry if you hear that. I'm sure you do. But here we go. Let's get into it. First of all, y'all, I don't know if you guys have been saying this, but it's been a couple of weeks now. I've wanted to talk about it, but I was like, I should wait until we have more information. So it's not just kind of a half-assed conversation about all of this. But Haley Beck is all over the internet right now, all over my For You page for being a certified creep pedophile. Certified lover boy, certified pedophile. Wop, 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 wop. Stop, fuck them up. Like type vibe. If you don't know who Haley Beck is the sister to Noah Beck, a very, very, very popular kind of OG TikTok thirst trap guy, which is just like, I don't know. I've seen so much discourse around all of this in regards to his name being brought up, and everybody keeps saying like, oh, I don't want to bring Noah into this because it's not him, but I feel like it's relevant to the story. It is absolutely relevant to the story, because I think a lot of this, which we will get into, don't you worry, we will get into the details of this, because this whole thing is, there's so many different elements that I'd need to talk about regarding this whole situation, but there's so much. But I think a huge piece of all of this is this age of social media and this age of access to the internet, and this age specifically, I've talked about this in the past too, the access that creepy ass fucking pedophile freak adults have to children because of the internet is at levels that has never been accessible before. And specifically, younger and younger people are using the internet because of the normalization of posting on social media for young children. Of course, there are, quote, age restrictions on social platforms. However, there have been, endless amounts of loopholes around that. I mean, even since I was a kid and Facebook came out, girl, I got a Facebook when I was like 10 years old. Like, Facebook came out, what was it, like 2008 or some shit? I was on that bitch. I was on like the Facebook beta. I was on there. Oh, how old are you? I was at least 13. I think you had to be 13 to have a Facebook. Yeah. And I said that I was. It's like, you just lie, because back to this whole thing, we've talked about this a million times. You cannot really have true regulation on something like the internet that is inherently dysregulated. It's not a regulated platform. It's not something that can be regulated without having to very much big brother-ify the internet, which is something that has been, very controversial. It's like, how do you put rules and regulations on things, specifically when it comes to age, without requiring government identity or without requiring, a birth certificate? But then you run into all of these other issues where it's like, okay, well, that has to be very centralized to each country that you exist in. Also, that means that you have to have a ID, which a lot of people don't have, or you have to have access to your, birth certificate or whatever, which a lot of people probably don't have. And so then you're limiting the rules on who can be on the internet. And then, that gets aligned with your access to wealth and your access to a myriad of things that it's just impossible. It just, aside from the whole creepiness of like putting your ID into something, like a social platform, strip that part away. It's just kind of unfair in the lack of accessibility that would grant people who don't have access to those things. It's like you think about, all of the rules that are getting placed on, things like voting and making it inherently more complicated for people who don't have access because of financial reasons or because of their home situation or whatever. There's so many reasons why people wouldn't have an ID or why people wouldn't have access to, their government documents. So you can't make something like the internet perfectly, quote, perfectly safe, because it would kind of infringe on the things that make specifically our country, which we know that's all getting kind of taken away every fucking day. Things are getting contradictory to what the pillars of, freedom give us in our country. I mean, you look at, all of this bullshit now with specifically trans communities and their licenses getting changed or their passports getting changed back to the gender that they were assigned at birth, even though that they have gone through, getting that changed to the gender that they identify with now, and that being okay. And then all of a sudden the government's like, never mind. Never mind. We're going to actually make it really fucking hard for you again and change the rules on that. I mean, you even look at people like Caitlyn Jenner talking about the issues that she's had with all of it, and she loves Donald Trump and whatever, but this is really fucking up her life. And it's like, girl, what did you expect to happen when you support these bigots? They don't like you. You were never invited into their boys club, even no matter how much you think that they respect you for who you are. They do not. So, I mean, we're in a time it's especially difficult to have certain freedoms on even your own fucking identity. It's almost like you don't have true ownership to that anymore in our country. So yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about this so much with how do you regulate something that is inherently unregulated. And I think the internet is the fucking perfect petri dish of how to do it. And I don't think there is a good way to do it because it's not a safe thing. Unfortunately, it's just not. And especially the people who have the ownership over it, the people who are in control of it the most, a lot of them have very malicious ethics and malicious mindsets. And yeah, it's scary. So there's never been a time where creep weirdos have more access to children ever. Specifically social media, and specifically these weird, parasocial relationships that people have with content creators. And that is why I think it is integral to talk about Noah Beck in the context of this situation. Because Noah Beck, being as famous as he is, I think his family has 1000%, profited definitely, but also been able to kind of nepotize themselves off of his internet success and inherently become, quote, successful on the internet. He has two sisters. Yeah, Noah Beck has two sisters. One, Tatum Beck, who was also a social media influencer, kind of used her social nepotism to become famous. And then his other sister, Haley Beck, which is the person that we will be talking about today, is his older sister who, decided to become a high school teacher, but also still existed on the internet, specifically on social sites like TikTok. This conversation is very complex and complicated because, so I think it's as much complicated as it is very straightforward and very kind of tale as old as time in the terms of this predatory nature between teacher and student. But let's take it back. Let's talk about what the situation is, and moreover, where we're at right now in context of the entire situation. So Haley Beck is a high school teacher who was found to be having a inappropriate predatory relationship with one of her students. However, the story and the situation entirely is so much more complicated and convoluted than just that. There has also been another teacher at this same school who is also a predator and has also been found to have been having inappropriate relationships with students and also involving sending explicit imagery of herself to said students. So the whole thing is so disgusting and also just predictable, which is so fucking gross. Like, this whole thing is so fucking gross, and I want to emphasize that over everything else. I think a lot of people have been talking about this under the context of it being some sort of like tea and gossip and you know, kind of laughing about it, because what we will get into is all of the text messages and conversations between Haley Beck and this student that she was being a predator towards have been released. So that is what is like kind of unprecedented about this case specifically, is we have access to the conversations up into her kind of getting quote caught for what's been going on. And because of that, the internet has, you know, taken into its own hands the interpretation of these conversations, and you will see that there was a very strange dynamic between the two of them, outside of the fact that it's strange for an adult to be texting a fucking child. But there was this increasingly, how do I put this, like maybe uncommon is a word, and not uncommon that this doesn't happen a lot, but maybe we're not used to seeing this type of dynamic between a victim and a predator. And so I think a lot of people are downplaying the fact that this is truly a horrendous crime and downplaying the fact that this is a victim. So we'll get into all of that, don't you worry. But as of right now, I don't think that there have been any charges pressed on Haley Beck, which is just actually insane given the amount of evidence that they have. And also, as of right now, I don't think there has been any repercussions to Haley Beck aside from she's been put on administrative leave. Let's just get into all of the information, because I think that will give a lot of context to all of this. So without further ado. Also, all of this is public information because this has been documented in the police reports that have been made. So that is another reason why this is just kind of unprecedented, because the speed at which this was released and the fact that she had not even been like really quote caught yet is just, it's just really crazy. I think we will definitely see a Netflix documentary about this. In regards to the siblings, I don't think they have commented on this at all. Which I don't know. The thing about me is, like, you know, you always say like, this is what I would do in this situation, but I don't think you really do know. However, I do know one fucking thing is if one of my fucking siblings came out to be a fucking child predator, I don't fuck with you anymore. Blood is thicker than water. No, the fuck it is not. If you are a fucking monster, freak, weirdo, loser, I am absolutely distancing myself from you. And furthermore, I am not standing by you. I'm not keeping quiet about it. I am going to be looking back through my whole entire life of everything that you've ever done and being like, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. And speaking out on you, because like, you don't deserve to be protected anymore, especially somebody like this who people have dug up old videos in the past that like Noah and his sister had posted or whatever, hinting to her having strange relationships with her students. And since then, those TikToks have been deleted. But, you know, there was some underlying weirdness around her and her relationship with her students that the family definitely knew about, and nobody seemed to say anything. And that will become a common thread throughout this whole story. A lot of people knew what was going on and didn't say anything, who were adults and should have said something. So let's get into it. So here is a text chain between Haley Beck and the student that she was grooming, and we will find out sexually assaulting. The victim's name has been redacted, so I'm just going to be referring to them as the victim. So this is Haley, but then said, ew, the victim, freak, Haley. If my shit was weak, then what's the point even? The victim, cry me a river, Haley. When are you going to come home to visit then? Haley, nah, no need for me to cry. I'll just suck your dick and you can shut the fuck up about it. The next part of this conversation is about when Haley and the victim were talking about the other teacher, Angela Berlocka, who was found to have inappropriate relationships with students, as well as sending them inappropriate photos and videos of herself. So here we go. Let's get into that. Haley, in a group with Berlocka for our meeting. Haley, feels so wrong. The victim laughs at feels so wrong. Haley, what was the pic you sent me over Snap? Haley, like what did it say? The victim, I don't know. Haley, I thought I saved it, but I guess I didn't, so never mind. These messages Haley and the victim discuss Haley's weight when the victim was a sophomore. The messages also progress talking about Mrs. Berlocka, a 50-year-old. The victim, those ID pics are funny. Haley, funny? Haley, why? Haley, oh, let me guess. I was a beluga in the first few. The victim, bro, my sophomore year, you were 1 billion% overweight. And now you look fire. Man, ain't that right? Haley, oh, okay. And then he said, you look fire. And then the victim liked the text that said, let me guess, I was a beluga in the first few. And then he said, man, ain't that right? And then Haley said, but you still fucked with me then. Haley, like a person. And the victim said, negative. And the victim said, you was a cool teacher. And you know what's so crazy about all this? This is where we start to see this like strange dynamic. It's not strange. Like, I'm sure this happens all the time. But I think for people who are reading this, to see that like he was, in a sense, kind of clowning on her constantly, making fun of her weight, kind of degrading her, and all of these things, where I think a lot of people are talking about like, oh, this guy's the man and blah, 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 which also discredits the fact that he is literally a child. And I think the reason why, and in a very, like, take a step back and look at this from a predator perspective, this is her giving him a sense of power and control in this relationship dynamic where she inherently holds all of the power and all of the control. So this is him feeling like he has this like one up on her, where he's like making fun of her appearance, making fun of her weight, kind of acting like he's choosing all of this and giving him a sense of like he's that guy, he's the cool guy who like fucked the teacher, when in reality she is willing to take that criticism and that degradingness because it gives him a sense of power in a quote relationship. This is not a relationship. This is a predatory, relationship, that he has no power. So it's a manipulation tactic. It's making him feel like he is this grown up adult guy who is choosing this, when in reality he's not. He is being groomed to think this way. And so I think a lot of people are being like, oh, he's roasting her, and that's embarrassing. And like, yes, it's so embarrassing for her, but this whole thing is embarrassing for her because she's a literal fucking pedophile. That's why it's embarrassing. That's why it's cringe. It's not embarrassing because he's making fun of her. Like, she knows that, and she's allowing that to happen so he can operate under this idea that he holds some sort of power that he doesn't. And also probably to make her feel better about the fact that she is giving him power to make herself feel less like a predator. Like, this is manipulation 101. This is grooming 101. And if a lot of people are not seeing it like that and making a joke out of it, when guys, I'm literally like shaking. I'm getting so angry about this. When in reality, it's like, this is what freaks do. This is what creepy people do. Oh my God. The reason I think this is also so triggering for me specifically is like, I had numerous adults in my life who would do shit like this with other people, and I had a few who would do this with me. Luckily, I was never in a position where an adult was able to take full like advantage over me sexually, but there were moments where like the boundary was very much crossed, and I was in a position where I was getting groomed to have that happen. One example specifically was my senior photographer. God, this is so fucking creepy. This is so creepy. So the guy who took photos for my brother's wedding was this like very much like Tumblr famous photographer. Okay. And people like, he had a lot of followers, and you know, he was like this young guy he was probably my brother's age. And for context, my brother's 9 years older than me. So you do the math. Okay. I was 16 when my brother got married. And so I had met him through my brother. And then I had my brother reach out to him because I really liked the pictures that he took of my brother's wedding. And I had looked through his portfolio, and I really liked the photos that he had taken of all these other senior girls. So I was like, oh, I want him to do my senior photos for high school. And I had my brother reach out to him, and we had, you know, started talking about doing my photos, and we took my photos, and it all went great. That's not where things were weird. Things got weird where after my senior photos were over, I started getting texts from this guy. And, you know, I'm 17 at the time. I don't know anything about anything. And he starts telling me that I would be the perfect subject for this photo shoot that he wanted to do. That was like this like very like Tumblr, like American Apparel, if you guys remember that brand, like very that type of like American classic sweetheart photo shoot. And what he wanted to do, this is so creepy. Oh my God. What he wanted to do was take these pictures of me at this like cabin or whatever in like the woods and shit. And it like the theme was very like manic pixie dream girl meets Americana core. Okay. And at first I was like, yeah, this sounds dope, because I was still young enough to where I thought like maybe I could be a professional dancer. And I was like, this would be great to have in like a portfolio to show kind of, you know, different looks. And like, I don't always have to be this like cutesy sweet, whatever. I could be kind of this more like mature. You guys, I'm 17. I don't know anything about life or creepy men or anything. So I'm like, yeah, cool. And he's like, okay, so here's kind of some of the vibes that I'm thinking for the photo shoot. He starts sending me photos, and I'm like, oh, these are kind of like borderline risque, but also I'm still trying to be like, you know, this is the type of stuff that happens, especially me wanting to be a dancer. I'm like, I know like there's gonna be music videos where I'm gonna be dressed in outfits that are a bit more scandalous and risque and whatever. And, you know, I'm gonna be around like it's art. Like that's the way I was looking at it in my head. I'm like, it's art. And like one of the big things in this photo shoot that he wanted was like I would be in like a essentially like see-through shirt in underwear. And that's when I kind of was like getting a bit uncomfortable, because I was like, okay, this is kind of feeling weird, because why is this like 30, well, I guess at the time, like late 20-something-year-old guy texting me about like doing a essentially like nude photo shoot. And a big part of the red flags that like fully started coming up is he was like, I was like, oh, okay. And then like when should we be there? And he was like, we, and I was like, yeah, me and my mom. Because I'm like, of course, me and my mom. Like, why wouldn't my mom be there? You know? He's like, well, I was just thinking it could just be you and I. And that's when I was like, whoa, wait a second. Back it up. And I was like, well, I think my mom like needs to be there because, you know, she's whatever, like not my momager, but I'm kind of like, yeah, like this feels weird, like me going out there with just you. But then I also was like, I don't want to ruin this chance that I had. And then when I finally told my mom about it, or I told somebody, like, and they were like, this is kind of weird, like this is weird. And mind you, in this exchange of messages that we have with each other, he's sending me photos of girls like this. So he's sending me pictures of women who I can see their like breasts and I can see their like, you know, and so then it's like crazy because I look back on that now as an adult and I'm like, oh, this guy was just like sending me porn basically, and then like wanting to go out in the middle of the woods with me and like take photos of me like topless when I was a minor. Oh, okay. And then full circle moment to that, my cousin is also a photographer in the city that this guy comes from. And she's like, oh, that guy's like a fucking creep. Like there are numerous like Facebook groups and like Reddit threads about him being like a fucking pedophile. I'm like, oh, perfect. Oh, cool. And yeah, so I don't know. It's like when I see these types of like interactions and text message interactions between a child and an adult that they trust, that they kind of look up to, and it's in this like friendly dynamic, I'm like, ew, that's so cringy. Because I also, my fucking dance teacher coach for my school, not my like competitive dance coach at my studio, like my school dance coach, she was a teacher at my school. She was a fucking Spanish teacher. Ugh. And she was the fucking classic example of like the quote, hot, ditzy, funny, young teacher that all of the guys were like obsessed with. She was probably like 24, 25 at the time, like so young, fresh out of college. She taught Spanish. She was this white girl who was like this previous like evangelical Christian, like whatever. So she was very like, I don't know, I would say inexperienced when it came to like boys. She had a husband, but I think that they were like high school sweethearts, like got married like very young type shit. And I don't know, I think she literally used her position of being a teacher as like fucking praying ground for young boys. And she was very weird and very like, she would gossip with us and like talk about like stuff with us as if we were friends. And then she would like use that as like fuel to then like talk shit on us with other people. It was like she was like creating blackmail. And then like if you had a boyfriend who was like a student in her class, she would like go out of her way to like flirt with them in front of you. And I don't know if she ever did anything with any of the kids, but I wouldn't be shocked if she did. And also, like, I was friends with a bunch of the guys who she was weird with, and they would all talk about her all the time, like how she would be like texting them. And like, I don't know if she ever did anything. I would not be surprised if she did. But so that's why, again, back to this whole situation, it's just, I hate seeing it. And I also hate seeing people like make jokes about it. But anyways, so they're talking about her appearance and how he like was like, oh, I would have never got with you back then. Meanwhile, she's still a child back then. She was still very much an adult. Also, she's my age, so I think she's a year younger than me. So mind you, this is a 10-year age gap. Okay, so she's fully frontal lobe developed, fully knows better. Like, it wouldn't matter if she was 21. This would still be fucking wrong. It doesn't matter, you know, but I'm saying like she's been out of college. Like, Haley said, but you still fucked with me then. Haley said, like a person. He goes, negative. You were a cool teacher. So basically being like, I didn't find you attractive last year because like he thought that she was fat and ugly. And then Haley goes, is my one this year good then? And he goes, and my current teacher. And Haley goes, or better at least. Haley goes, you're telling me you wouldn't have tried with me back then solely because of the teacher aspect? And he goes, no, not at all. Because it would have been like, she's not even a flex, she's rough. So basically she's continuing to allow him to have this like degrading dynamic with her and like talk down on her as if like she's this like prize to be conquered now that he finds her attractive, which mind you is just grooming. She goes, right, like I was just cool. And he goes, he liked that. And he goes, you asked, same with Miss Berlocka, the other woman. And then he goes, she was a little bit more fit. I would have died in the pussy. And then Haley goes, bro, she's also 50 though. So she is now bringing up this like issue with age, being like, well, she's 50. That's creepy. That's gross. She's ugly. Mind you, this girl is almost 30 talking to a fucking minor. What is the difference, Haley? You're both predator freak weirdos. But she's trying to establish this sense of like, but me and you are closer in age than you and her. So like, it's not that wrong. And then he goes, but she's too damn big for me right now. And then he goes, question mark, question mark. And then he goes, age is just a number, baby. She's starving for the young dick. Again, she is allowing him to talk this way to give him this sense of having this like power dynamic in the relationship when he doesn't. He's a fucking kid and he's been groomed to think this way. And a lot of young boys have been groomed to think this way because of media and because of so many things, making it seem as if like having a sexual relationship with a female teacher as a boy is different than having a sexual relationship with a male teacher as a girl. It's not different. It is wrong both ways. Both are inappropriate. Both are illegal. Both are pedophilia. But media specifically and male like culture has made it very much this like fantasy for young boys to have when they're younger, and specifically porn also does this. But what's crazy is like that is just sexual assault. That is just like rape. And a lot of young boys don't realize that until they're adults. So then they have to go through their life kind of not really truly understanding the way that they're feeling, and then having to like work through that like trauma, that sexual like grief later in life, which is, it's just so fucked up. It's so messed up that we treat young boys as if they are these sexual beings, and like women, adult women, are something to be like conquered because it's like this like teacher fantasy kind of thing, when in reality like it's just justifying grooming and pedophilia. It's so fucked. Like it's so fucked. It's so fucked. And then Haley goes, I mean, yeah, I guess, but even though our situation is still not right, at least we are close in age. I don't like being compared to Miss B. So right there, she's admitting that like their quote situation, it's just a predator victim relationship, is justifiable because they're closer in age than he is with this older teacher. And then he goes, nah, 100%, a tad more normalized. Like if I'm 25 and you're 33, who cares? But if I'm 25 and she's 55, holy jilf. Which is also, it's just like, you're not 25 and 33. You're a minor and a 27-year-old. So it's not the same. Like this whole like age gap dynamic does not exist when one of the people in the quote age gap is a child. Like it's so sad. And he goes, luckily I haven't cracked her. So it's also like her allowing him to like have all of these like moments in these conversations where he's talking about like his sex life with other people is also giving him this sense of power in this conversation, when in reality, like we've said, he doesn't have any. And then she goes, right, sounds way more normal. Like she's an older woman, you go. Then he said, or then she goes, sick. Girl, like look in the fucking mirror. And then Haley said, I can't even look at her without thinking of her literal vagina. Because I guess that is like image that had been spread. It's like, ugh, this is so crazy. This is so crazy that this is real. And then he said, right. And then the next chain of text messages, the victim refers to Haley as his lifelong side piece. Haley said, I'm glad you still referred to me as sugar mama. I thought my services were being retired. And then he goes, yep, lifelong side piece. And then Haley goes, lifelong 12. 12 is like her nickname for him because I guess that's his fucking jersey number because he's a high school fucking student on the fucking football team. She's living in this like fucked up pedophile fantasy of this like fucking One Tree Hill ass world that she created for herself that like does not fucking exist because she's a fucking creepy teacher. Haley goes, I'ma get sick of side piece eventually. I'll need an upgraded title. 8 hours of meetings today. I'm actually going to kill myself. And then he goes, well, that's not my decision. And then she says, what do you mean? And he goes, you're the old lady here. If you seek a relationship your age, I can't be anything other than your side piece. You're playing with fire, not me. So again, him, quote, acknowledging that he knows like she's the one at fault and her letting him, quote, get away with that because it makes him feel like he has a sense of control and power in this. And then Haley said, you think I'll still fuck with you even when I'm in a relationship? And he goes, 100% dick to fi. And then she goes, I was going to ask if you'd still fuck with me if you were in one, but you literally did. Ugh, so fucked up. And he goes, yeah, I mean, I haven't been locked in a relationship, but technically I'm in one, so I guess you can say that. I don't really care, TBH, I cheat. And then she says, you are? Like, again? He goes, when I come home, I'ma see her for sure. She's like a sloth on a tree. She's not letting go. You can see how desperate and embarrassing it is for her that she's like literally jealous of these children in a relationship with each other and she needs to have the control over it. It's just so fucking gross. Okay, so this, God, guys, it keeps getting worse. I'm sorry to just keep reading these. It's just so fucked, but I feel like it's important to give the context. So the next series of messages, Haley and the victim were discussing meeting up, and then prior to the messages, the victim complains about his water pressure and says that he has to share with his roommate. And the victim asked if Haley was going to repeat their plans from the night before. Based on the messages, it implies that they had met for sex like the day before. So Haley goes, your roomie want in on the action too? ? You know, another child. She's like, gimme, another kid I can fucking like be a predator towards. Perfect. And then she goes, I'm kidding. And then he goes, wow, you really are just a bucket. Like you would dead do this shit, I feel like. And then she goes, you're insane. A bucket? Bro, he could very well be a minor. I would never do this for a stranger. Like acknowledging the fact that like, I don't know, but then in that also gives a bit of context to, you know, her manipulation being like, but he could be a minor. Like I would never do that to another minor if it was a stranger. It's only you. Like I chose you. Like you are the one I picked. So it's like giving him this sense of like, again, validation that she like chose him and that like he has power in this, even though he doesn't because he's a literal child. Then Haley sends him a screenshot of lyrics where the caption is, forget teenage dream. This is my new song to you. The screenshot lyrics are the following. You can hit it in the morning. Yeah, like it's yours. I know it ain't right, but I don't care. Break up with your girlfriend. Yeah, cause I'm bored. So it's the Ariana Grande song, break up with your boyfriend or your girlfriend cause I'm bored. And then he responds, Jesus Christ. And she goes, tee hee hee. Oh, relax, live a little. God, this is like actually making my blood boil. In this conversation thread, the victim thanks Haley for everything that she's done for him. Haley responds by questioning why he was thanking her and it felt like a goodbye. She then mentions beat them cheeks and their last hoorah. So fucking gross. He says, thank you for all the things you do and you have done. Click except though I'm at the counter. So basically he's asking her to send him money. because this was another big like part of their relationship, is she would send him money. So there's that. Then she said, why are you thanking me? It's making it seem like you're done with me. And he said, nah, I'm just no finna be as available because I'm gone. And then Haley sent the Apple Cash, which, oh God. And then she said, yeah, I know this, but still like available over text and call, you know? I'll see you this weekend when you're available for our temporary last hurrah. And he just like liked the message about like being available for call and text. And then he said, yeah, but not regularly, maybe. And then Haley put in quotes, when I come home, I'm coming to beat them cheeks up. That's where I got the impression, LOL. And then he said, haha, maybe, that's funny. And then Haley said, nah, like I know you have stuff to do and people to see, but don't forget about your sugar mama. And then they included the Apple Cash exchanges between him. And she sent 5 different amounts of money from June 21st, 2025 through June 27th, 2025. Okay, so for the next like bit of conversation, I'm just going to play this TikTok video because I think that it'll do a faster job of explaining it than I do, because I keep stopping because this is just like actually like pissing me off so much. But I want to kind of conclude this whole bullshit, and yeah, so let's just watch this video.
And then Haley sent a screenshot of a text message that the detective had sent her, and the following is what the detective sent to Haley that she then screenshot and sent to the victim. It says, it's redacted, and it says, my name is Detective Kraber with Peoria PD. I have a search warrant for your phone and need you to turn it over. If you do not, you can face criminal charges for failing to obey a court order. If you prefer, we could contact you at your new school in California. Please call this phone number to verify I am in fact a police officer. Respond to this number to coordinate the surrender of your phone. Thank you. And so then the victim sent this next message to Haley with the caption, don't text me. And it details all the times that there's like a sheet that details all the times she sent him Apple Cash amounts in various amounts, $25, $58, $20, $25, $10, all within a short frame in June of 2025. I'm sure that there's more. But her response to this is basically that she's freaking out about that message. And he says, delete everything about me in your phone, probably. Like, instead of probably. Like, he does not care. And she probably cares a lot. She knows she's going to get in trouble. He's just been playing her this entire time. He's just using her to get money. And it is so painfully obvious the way that he degrades her and insults her. And she still just comes crawling back for more. It's as if she's trying to fulfill some high school experience void that she has. Like, maybe she wasn't very popular in high school, but now that her brother is super famous and she has these students that basically will kiss her ass for either decent grades or Apple Pay money, and then she feels like, oh, I'm rectifying my lackadaisical, like my lame high school experience by vicariously replaying it through this. Sick.
Okay, I disagree with this take that she has. I don't think this has anything to do with her like wanting to be popular. It's her brother. I think she's just a predator. Like, that's why she's doing this shit. I think it has everything to do with the fact that she's making him feel as if he has power. I think she probably was popular in high school. She probably peaked in high school, and that's why she's still doing this. But that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that she is a predator, and this is all like her choice, and she's doing this. It has nothing to do with him. So I disagree with this creator. I just think that they did a good job of like reading out all the messages. So yeah.
So continuing on with those text messages between Haley and her student, this is after she has found out that the detectives are probing. They want her phone. They want her to turn it in as soon as possible. So she is texting the victim about this. The victim says, delete everything about me in your phone, probably. I don't think it's about you, though. I think it's Miss B in some shit. So he's talking about Miss Berlocka, the other teacher. And they're trying to get me for questioning. Haley says, everything has been deleted. You do the same, but let me know what it's about. I'm nervous. He says, I have no clue. I think she just got caught up with some other kids. And they said my name got brought up. Haley says, I have something to give you also. She says, okay, as long as it's about her. He says, I'm leaving right now. She says, to go where? He says, Dago. Haley says, I don't know what Dago is, but just go and email. And he says, about. And he says, South San Diego. And Haley says, Berlocka. Wait, you're going to Cali now? And Haley says, all right, I hope you're not like weird with me or something, but okay. The victim says, no, just try not to create any new situation. You see this shit in front of your face. Like, and Haley says, just was wanting to be updated about your stuff, really. Yeah, this is just a you and me thing, though. Not that it's right, but others were involved with her. So no need to just get automatically standoffish to me, though. And you're also not at blank anymore. It was redacted. So good luck in Cali. Don't be a stranger. Victim says, never. Send me that email again, real quick. Haley says, who are you showing it to? He says, my dad. Haley says, did you tell him police contacted you? He says, he knows, goofball. They showed up at my door banging on it at 6 a.m. on the first day of school and fucked up every plan we had to go up there. Didn't get to talk to any coaches or any people or anyone. And Haley says in all caps, wait, what? They came to your house, she said? And victim says, I gotta go, delete this shit. Haley says, you're being weird, but okay. He says, you're being an idiot. Like, there isn't an investigation going on in front of your face. Haley says, bro, for videos of Berlocka because other kids told. You're on your way to Cali, and this is over Snap. Like, tell me if it's about something else, please. What's the name of your school? And Haley continues, okay, not gonna lie, I feel the need to text you because I feel like blank out of the loop with your stuff and don't want you hiding things from me, especially if it has a little to do with me. Your sudden decision to just leave today kind of made me feel a little nervous, and I feel like you wouldn't have told me if I didn't ask. The last thing I want to do is overwhelm you and stress you out because I'm sure your day yesterday has been hard enough, but can you call me to talk on here like you're in Cali and this is over Snap? I'm not done to the situation right now, but feel like my mind has been stressing just because you're not really talking to me about this stuff. Talk to me when you can. I know you're busy, but fill me in to ease my mind, please.
So in that whole string, it was very much like she's like now freaking out because she's like, oh fuck, they they know shit, you know, and he is responding like any fucking teenager would who doesn't fully grasp the depth of the situation, because he at this point doesn't view himself as a victim, which, you know, he'll process that in time, and it's nobody's job to tell him that he is a victim or whatever. It's like he'll get there, you know. Anybody who's been in a situation like this like understands, like in the moment, like you don't know because you've been groomed, and that's the point. Like that is the point. You've been brainwashed, you've been taught to think that this is normal or like something cool or whatever, when in reality it's like a loser pedophile who's preyed and groomed you. So but she's realizing, oh, fuck, like I'm about to get caught, because she is the loser pedophile groomer and she knows it's wrong. And so, yes.
This is where the text messages between Haley and her student get really cringy. So she's out one night going to a concert or something, and she texts him saying, if you don't hear from me in 15, send a search party because I probably crashed from falling asleep. And he just laughs at the text. It says, go down the street behind mine and come from the other side to my house, like the back part where the two streets connect. Obviously, she's been there before. That's what this says to me. And also, I feel like she's wanting him to like come to her rescue, but he's like, no, you can just come to my house and, you know, give me what I want, basically. So she comes to the house. And then in the next series of messages, they're talking about the victim going on a trip and Haley providing an allowance for him while he's on this trip. So he texts her saying, are you going to be my daily allowance service for this trip? Do we set a benchmark or do I just ask to buy the item? What are we thinking here? Haley then sends a photo of a phone game with the caption, have you ever played this game? I feel like you would like it. She then responds to his messages about the allowance saying, this sounds like an official business deal. He laughs at that and says, I don't know about deal, more so communication. Haley says, yeah, communication is always good. Don't get too crazy with demands, but I'm sure we can work something out. He says, LMAO, nothing you haven't seen before, probably just when I'm hungry. I'm finna eat probably at this connection in Houston. Haley says, it's fun. Anyways, get some food. And then he requests money. And then Haley sends a photo of her neck and she appears to be outside tanning. Her neck is exposed and there is a hickey on her neck. And he responds, oh goodness. And then Haley sends him money via Apple Pay. And then he texts her saying, you're gonna have skin cancer. And Haley says, talking about the hickey. He doesn't even acknowledge it. He just says, hey sugar mommy, nice to hear from you at the perfect time. Look at you being telepathically connected, because he needs something. She laughs at that message and then says, yeah, better suck up right now because I cried myself to sleep last night because you didn't say love you back. I also decided I don't like the title of sugar mommy. It makes me feel used. He says, oh gosh, what title do you prefer? Crybaby? She says, watch it. I'm being drama. I didn't cry, but I was visibly shocked. Darling or dull always suffices. He says, I fell asleep, big whoop, and then requested money. Like it's so painfully obvious. He's just not that into you and you're an old lady and this is so gross. So he says, sugar baby requesting money from doll-faced sugar mama. Now in these messages, Haley and the victim discuss Haley's feeling of being used, and Haley says, if I cut you off from the money benefit from all this, I really fear you would never speak to me.
That's it. She knows that she has this power dynamic over him. And right now it's like this monetary power dynamic. He needs money for whatever reason, and she's providing that to him in exchange for sex with a child. It's like, this is so insane to me. And this is like, I know people are talking about it, but I don't think people are really talking about the fact that like, this is what this is. This is child sex prostitution. Like, I don't know. Like, this is crazy. This is actually crazy.
But just can't accept it, I guess. He says, I don't know if we should try to find out. Haley says, is that a threat? I think you would miss me for just a little bit, but enjoy your expensive Fort Lauderdale Private Lady Beach tacos. And then he says, he laughs at that message and says, probably. Haley says, no, I was just thinking how we started off. Literally nothing to do with money. How did we get to this point? He says, man. She says, back when you liked me for me and not my bank. I fear he never liked you for you and only ever for your bank. But okay. She says, you also sometimes like me for something that doesn't even require money, but obviously no can do right now. Oh, I thought you meant to the little skills challenge thing. And he says, no, whatever he was doing the other night with your tongue, don't let that get out your inventory, FR. Keep that in your back pocket ready to go. Haley says, gotta catch me today before my period starts tomorrow, I think. And then sends a GIF of Kevin James. And then he requests more money. And she just said, I think he must have sent like a helicopter emoji, because sometimes these messages show up as 1212, and that indicates that there's like emojis being sent, but it doesn't tell you what emojis. And so she says, what the hell does the helicopter mean? And I'm assuming that's why. She says, if no one was home, then yeah, preferably that, but I guess I'll settle for being a rebellious teen. He says, yep, just like always, a big kid, stuck in high school, fucking a high schooler, shit crazy, the world we live in, am I right? He says that to her. She says, like, why are you complaining and making me feel bad? Like, you're getting basically a relationship out of me without the arguments and constant need for commitment and reassurance, so you're welcome. And then he says, not necessarily complaining, clutch, sugar mama FR, porn start, I'm sure that's a typo, all the perks FR, cars, hotel, even the apartment, what a gal. She says, yeah, and all while you have a girlfriend on the side. She says, but at least you know that I'm not going to start arguments with you randomly. I don't know if that's supposed to be a compliment or offensive. This girl is so dense. I just want to shake her. He says, compliment. You're just not in a porn star body. That's all. I live a wild life. What can I say? And then he says, cat. And Haley says, and there's the insult. And then there's emoji sent. And he says, is it really an insult if it's just a fact? Haley says, so this is you admitting you have a girlfriend? Because if that's the case, I'm not doing nothing with you. And he says, I don't have a girlfriend, for real. She says, okay, thank you. I really hope you aren't trolling me though. Because weirdly, that is when I'd cut off everything. Not like us being cool, just my physical and money services. So I hope you aren't lying just to keep it. He laughed at her text and then said, nah, FS, which I think means for sure. If I was 27 and I had a boyfriend that was a cop in all caps while I'm breaking the law with my student in all caps, I'd probably be conservative with my services as well.
Yeah, so that's another piece of this puzzle. Her boyfriend, like, she's currently in a relationship during all of this, and her boyfriend is a police officer. So yes, the pot thickens and shit continues to get more and more convoluted and fucking weird. This is a game to her. She likes this. She likes towing the line between like getting caught and like I'm genuinely like, she is just a fucking freak.
All right, let's keep going with these texts between Haley and her student. Now we're going to back up, and this is kind of like in the heat of their interactions, I guess, before they actually got caught. So victim says, "Ugh, it's going to be so hard for me to do that. I just can't see you talk to another guy like that. Oh my god!" And then he's gone. These are audio messages that were transcripted. Haley responds saying, "No, I've actually heard that before from somebody. Actually, a couple of people like being dead serious when I was talking to other guy students in particular. They got a little jealous apparently, and then she starts laughing." That is the end of like those pertinent audio messages, and then they continue through text. Haley says something to the like responding to something that he said, saying, "Only if you give me a back massage." However, whatever she's responding to, they weren't able to retrieve. So anyway, she says, "Only if you give me a back massage." He says, "I mean, sure." He doesn't really seem super enthusiastic. The next message is he starts off saying, "Yeah, like I won't just be able to keep my eyes off of you. It's just going to be so hard. It's just going to be so focused in that class." She responds with a voice message saying, right. I'm glad you can prepare yourself. Yeah, hopefully you can stay focused, but don't get too distracted either. You know, just make sure you want to talk to me the entire class. Not actually do work, but hoping to keep your good student standards in my class. And she says, or like you also can't like get jealous when I show other people attention because that's like my job. I hate how often she says like, especially for a teacher. It's just so childish. He responds, "But I'm a really sentimental person because like I hate her. I hate doing bad people, like doing people raw, and I know I've done it, but like it's just I don't like it." It's so hard to comprehend. She's trying to translate, saying in response, Haley says, "So you're saying that I'm safe with you because you're a sentimental person, you don't want to do bad things to a good person like me? Is that what you're saying?" Okay, if that's what you got out of that, then you are really reaching for that conclusion. But he responds saying, "Yes, literally," and then something's unintelligible. He says, "No, but maybe I was thinking that maybe her husband found out." At this point, I think they're talking about Miss Berlacca, the other teacher. Haley says, "Yeah, dude, like, I don't know. That would be crazy for him to turn her in like that. I don't know. I asked my little cop guy friend, and he hasn't responded yet because he's sleeping, so I'll see what he says." And then they continue to discuss their suspicions of another student and Angela Berlacca, the other teacher. And they move on to talking about someone else's class and the students in them. During this conversation, Haley and the victim indicate a possible relationship between them. So they're talking about these videos that came out that allegedly Miss Berlacca sent to this other student, and it's of her unclothed saying this other student's name. And these other students found this video, they're all talking about it. So Haley is talking to the victim about it. The victim says, "Yeah, I know why. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand. Like, obviously I do know why, but I just know that like it's fine if you do because like everything with me, I'm just chill. No one knows about me really." They're talking about like people finding out about the victim and Haley's relationship. Haley says, "Yeah, but like obviously people found out about stuff that was on the DL with other people. So like how that came to be, like that's what's scary too about even talking sometimes. Like how did that happen? How did they find out? Essentially is what she's getting at. And she's clearly nervous that she's going to be found out next because she's seeing it happen to her colleague, which is so insane to me that this is her colleague. But the victim says, "Yeah, but like I don't have the need to do that. I'm not talking to anybody. Like I'm literally just mind my own self." So Haley says, "Like listen, if I were to do any of that stuff, that's still extremely wrong. Like so wrong. Don't get it twisted. But like, and I send to multiple people like that. It is actually insane. But for her, who is like 50 years old with a husband and kids, that's wrong times wrong." Again, she's trying to minimize what she's doing because in comparison.
Yeah, she's trying to justify that what she's doing is like, it's wrong, but like it's not as wrong as a 50-year-old woman with a husband and kids, because she's just this 27-year-old fucking child with no husband, just a cop boyfriend and no kids.
Because in comparison to this other teacher, she believes what she's doing is more appropriate or better, maybe because of the age difference. I don't know. It's just baffling how people will convince themselves that what they are doing is not actually disgusting. So the victim says, "No, that shit's crazy. Well, with you and me, that's different. That's because," and then laughs. And he says, "Look at me, cuz it's different. I turn 18 soon anyway. She's OB crazy." The last thing she says is, "No, it's not even about that. Like, it's the fact that, like, I mean, again, and I'm not saying this to rationalize this at all, even though that's exactly what she's doing. But like, I'm in my 20s, single with no kids. Again, that does not make it okay for me to be freaky. If I was going to do that, even just to you, just like, I don't know, that's why."
It's just so fucking insane. And then since this has, all come out, a lot of other students have come out saying, their perspective of all of this and kind of the things that they had been hearing behind the scenes and everything. And a lot of people have been like, well, why didn't they come forward? Why didn't they say anything? Because they're also children. It's not their job. It's not another child's job to report this type of shit happening. What it is somebody's job to do is another responsible adult should have taken initiative and brought this up. And the fact is, a lot of other adults knew this was going on, including the victim's parents. The victim's parents knew that the victim and Haley Beck had some sort of relationship. I don't know if they knew that they had some sort of sexual relationship, but at the very least, like, they knew that the teacher was at the very least like having conversation outside of school with the student, which is so fucking weird. Like, that is so fucking weird to me. I don't understand it, especially the teacher being a female and not being a like a coach or something. Because, I was in with my creepy weird teacher, there was some instances where she would be in like group messages with us, but it was like in regards to practice or in regards to competitions or whatever. So like that made a bit more sense. But like this, a teacher, like your school teacher having nothing to do with your sports and everything is just red flags. So it's not the other kid's responsibility, it's the adult. But the last thing I want to get into is the police recovered this letter. This is the last thing I'll talk about in this because we simply just have to end this club meeting. It's gone on way too long. I don't think we're going to even get into the listener write-in. So sorry. I will talk about those in next week's club meeting. But this is just so long, so we just have to get into this letter. So Haley Beck supposedly wrote this like farewell letter to her fucking victim, and you read this and it is like anybody who doesn't see this as the most fucked up, disgusting, wrong bullshit ever, if you read this letter, you will finally get there. If for some reason you didn't think this was weird and creepy, once you read this letter, you will realize how fucking disgusting, manipulative, and downright loser embarrassment of a person this pedophile is. So let's read the letter. Being away from your closest people, you may tell that way at some point. I think she might meant to say feel. I don't know. So read this if you do. 12. I'm really proud of you for choosing yourself in the situation, even though I know it was tough. It's kind of crazy to look back and realize in my 2 years of knowing you, our relationship has changed so much. I'm really glad I had the opportunity to teach you your sophomore year, because without that, we would have never really been chill with each other. I know there's some random times/days where you decide to hate me, but that's okay because I know at the end of the day, we're solid most of the time. I genuinely feel like you're a brother. Weird. Maybe a cousin or step bro. Gross. And truly never thought I would be in this situation with you, but I'm glad to have you as someone who I think will be in my life for a while, even if we don't talk all the time or even at all. When you're in college, I feel like our little bond will always be there. So just hit me when you want to go get wasted at a bar together, and I'll send you my wedding invite one day. Like, this bitch is literally acting as if this is like this great romance. Like, right romance, wrong time. Like, no, bitch, you're a fucking predator. I know you are nostalgic AF, so I hope you look back at our time as a good 112. And no, this isn't me saying goodbye, but I know things will be different. But don't forget our first pickleball hangout, and when you wouldn't get out of my car for like 3 hours, or our Sonic run after your state game, or all the times you fell asleep on my couch waiting for me to invite you into my room, LOL. Oh, our go-kart experience and our ward games at Shake Shack. You know, for this relationship being extremely wrong, I feel like we've really made the most of it. Okay. I'm glad I got to come to your tattoo appointments, even if you just wanted me to bring you food. All of our car hangouts were fun too, for eating plus other stuff, LOL. Our night adventures in Cali, like there is truly no other student I know, so wrong, that I'd want to do any of this with. Don't let this all go to your head, but I'm glad you're in my life. Okay, ew. WTF. I mean, you've been to my parents' house in their closet. Insane. I feel like you have opened me up to a lot of things. I'm glad that I've been able to be someone you can talk to, even though sometimes my advice input is unsolicited. I'm happy we can talk about things you know. You know you can always reach out to me if you need anything, 12. I won't lie. I would always look forward to when you would come over, not to do anything, but to just hang out. I feel like I got good at being myself, but even with you, it was still just easy, whether it was to talk, watch movies, make pizza, or do other stuff. I'm glad we have these memes. And lastly, kind of hit me that it'll be weird not seeing you during Storm the Halls, and even weirder not seeing you on the field. I'm sure you knew this, but you're the reason I went to all the games I could. Before I knew you well, I'd go to a few games a season, but last season I wanted to go to as many as I could, and I'm glad I did, because those were the last ones I'd be at for you, 12. It's not going to be the same, but I'm happy knowing you're happy with where you're at. I'm proud of you. You got me to smoke weed. You're always going to have that title, so we're locked in for real. And maybe one day we'll be able to go to the aquarium, 12. I'm here whenever. Even though you never say it back, I love you and I wish you all the best. Always love, Haley Beck. What the fuck? That is so fucking creepy. That's so fucking creepy. So anyways, I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. I cannot believe she hasn't been arrested yet. This whole case is just actually so insane because I feel like it's so evident. Like there's endless amounts of evidence why she should be fucking, at the very least, like detained by the police and like held or arrested. So we'll see, but I don't know. Anyways, sorry, this was really long, really heavy, really intense. I'll put a trigger warning at the beginning of this episode. So anyways, but yeah, we're gonna skip the listener write-in this week, the club member write-in. I have it, we'll talk about it next week, but we gotta go. This has gone on too long. Anyways, I love you guys so much. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. Want to get to 1,000, we'll open up that Discord and we'll start, linking. Also, the Discord will have an age restriction. So sorry. I'm pretty sure I can do 18 and up. So that's what it will be, just because we don't need any younger people in there. So sorry. But yeah, that's it. I love you and I will see you in next week's club meeting. Bye.
The Girls Club, 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 the Girls Club. It's my club and I'm a girl, yeah.